This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Hi everyone, I'm Connie Denham, and this is the Ordinance Committee, the City Council Ordinance Committee for July 16th. This evening we're going to be talking about 2 positions to be added, the sustainability coordinator and staff engineer. We are not going to be discussing the moratorium on sewage. We're going to wait for more communication with the agricultural committee. Commission. To start, do we have any minutes that we need to approve?
But I know I owe so many of them.
Okay. All right. Just so you know, so everyone is aware, can we just say who's in the room so that
Emily Russo, Human Resources Director.
Mike Gomez. Salem Derby.
Emerson.
great. And Greg Nuttleman, Director of DPW, is also on the call. So we're going to start with the sustainability coordinator, and so I want to turn it over to Emily to kind of talk us through that. So
absolutely. So this is a position I think that's kind of been in the back of our minds for a while, but the conservation agent was taking on a lot of the responsibilities of a sustainability coordinator. Cassie was kind of being overextended, doing things like the Move EV project and doing some work with the solar credits and stuff like that. So with her leaving in August, we took that opportunity to revisit her job description and kind of branch it out into 2 different positions. So the conservation agent, now we did reduce that to 30 hours per week instead of the 34. It used to be, originally the position was a part-time position. I think it was staffed at, or it was brought in at 24 hours per week, but because Cassie was taking on so much of the sustainability work, we were able to increase it to 34. And with this, we were like, okay, we'll reduce it back to 30 hours per week, but we're also going to add, since we're taking out some of the sustainability, we're going to add CPA to the conservation agent position. So they'll be taking some of the roles from the senior planner and kind of blending into a new position where they're the administrative support for both the Conservation Commission and the CPA. And that way, hopefully that role shouldn't be so overextended and can focus on those 2 tasks. And then with sustainability, since that's such a growing effort really in the city, we can have someone kind of focusing in on that work and doing things with, like, you know, the solar. I think there's a lot of solar opportunities that we could, a lot of grant opportunities that we could be getting, kind of working on the city climate action plan and, you know, developing things in the city further. We do have here that originally our plan was to have it fall under the planning department, but I think after further review, we might change that to DPW. It seemed to make a little bit more sense with the solar and everything being managed under DPW. So that is a possibility. I just want to make that known. But hopefully that shouldn't affect anything with this process. So in the grade E was to reflect, it does have a little bit more requirement wise than the conservation agent did. There's a little bit more, can't think of the word, just I guess accountability to be had with this position. So that's why we picked that grade for it.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Just thought, when the grade was selected, did the idea of a potential the higher level of green community grants that we might have access to come into play with that? And that might be a question for the mayor, but because I know that now that we have adopted the specialized code and we updated our vehicle ordinance, there could be potential funding to fund that position.
Which would be great. And I think, yeah.
Was that on the radar, or was that?
I imagine it was on the mayor's radar. She didn't mention a lot about that to me, to be honest. But we, with like picking the grade, part of that too is we looked at other sustainability coordinator positions that there aren't. It's hard because it's like, I feel like each community kind of has this weird blend of things. So we're like, okay, what makes the most sense in relation to what we're doing? So that's kind of how we ended up with that grade, was with those comparators. But I mean, I think, yeah, if we can fund it through grants, that would be incredible. So right now, I think the goal is to have it funded through general fund. But I mean, if we can move some of that, that would be best.
Counselor Smith, do you have questions?
Can you give, just for the record, a little more detail to when you say grade E, what would be the requirements? Like what about grade E? What are the specifications?
Yes, so the grades are based on, so we have grades A through H. So anything kind of like in the, like D, E is going to be kind of like a mid-level. They have like mid-authority. They really aren't overseeing anybody, but they do kind of like, they might be writing grants or, you know, have more accountability in things, where someone who's like a grade A is really, they're not going to have any accountability. Like anything they do really isn't going to have a major impact on anything. A grade B tends to be more, you know, an entry-level position. With a sustainability coordinator, you're going to want them to have a little bit more education and experience. So let me see what we have for, yeah, and just like they're going to be really reporting only to the director. So we want them to probably have a bachelor's degree in something like environmental science, natural resource management, environmental planning, and then we're going to want them to have, you know, at least 2 years of closely related municipal experience. So we also say there's always a combination of training and experience, but that's kind of how we come up with that. And then when you get into the higher levels, those tend to have more authority and more, repercussions for their actions.
Another question that I have is, the sustainability coordinator would be reporting to the director of DPW. Where would they be located? Like, where would their desk be?
We would probably put them in the DPW office. There is room in there. It would just take a little moving around puzzle pieces. But that is actually a bigger office, so we could definitely make that work.
Greg, did you have thoughts about that? Or Director Nettleman, sorry.
No, that's fine. Sorry, my connection's a little slow. No, I think it's great. I think given the investments we made with the Honeywell project and some of the other initiatives we've been helping with, you know, Cassie's been taking on a lot with the between the electric vehicle chargers and the Valley Bike Share coming back. And you know, I've been helping her myself with a little bit of those things, but with her gone relatively soon, we're going to need somebody helping keep all those things moving, and just having someone around that's, you know, working out of our office that can help with whether it's efficiency upgrades at the buildings or going out to see why one of the charge point stations isn't working or anything. It'll just be great to have that person around to help us keep these solar agreements and contracts on track with where they are, and make sure the city's getting the most value that we can out of the credits and where we have them applied, and someone that can really keep a closer eye on, you know, if solar credits are building up too much at one location, you know, we need to reassign them. And there's a lot of details and requirements around how often we can change the way credits are applied and which accounts they go to. So just someone being on hand to really have a real good handle on that stuff it'll pay dividends to the city in the long run. I'm sure of it.
Other questions, thoughts, comments? Just a couple of thoughts. I think this is really great. I think that, there was, conversation yesterday in the meeting, just how large DPW is. And so the fact that we're able to have another person in there to support in these various ways, I think is really important. I will express one small concern. We're already starting in a deficit with the budget, and so we're adding this position. However, to Councillor Derby's point, right? I think one of the things that I think this committee is really proud of, right, is that we passed, the vehicle ordinance efficiency as well as the specialized code, right? And that gave us the climate leader designation, hopefully, right? That will be coming, but part of the rationale of passing that was the fact that it opened up funds for the position, right? And so I think for me, there's a real hope that actually comes to fruition, right? So that we're able to have that, but concerned that right now at this moment we are in a deficit, right? So just want to acknowledge that for the public. Any other thoughts? No? Great. So I will take a motion to amend City Ordinance Chapter 7, Section 7-17A, classification of employees, to add the following sustainability coordinator at a grade E status, I guess.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, great.
Second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So all three of us say aye, right? So that's great. So that's very, very exciting. So I think this is
I'm excited about this position.
yeah, I think this continues to demonstrate our commitment, and also an opportunity for us to really achieve the goals that we have in the climate action plan.
Let's hope it gets funded externally.
Yes.
I know, we love that. We love grant funding.
For sustainability, a sustainable amount of time.
Yes.
Not just like 2
Yes.
years.
Not just 2 years. That's right.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about the staff engineer position.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a little bit more of a formality, putting this position on the agenda, because so we previously had Diane Rossini and Dan Murphy as our engineers, but I don't know what happened when Diane was hired. It seemed like something in the process was a little mixed up, and she was hired in the same grade and technically same position as this city engineer, which shouldn't have been the case, because she was hired in as a staff engineer. So she was labeled as a staff engineer, treated as a staff engineer, but positioned in the same grade as the city engineer, just at a lower rate. So I feel like that's problematic, and I think that there should be a grade separation, seeing as how the city engineer oversees the staff engineer. So when Dan left and Diane stepped into the city engineer position, we took that as, again, an opportunity to revisit it and do it correctly. So this is just a formality to put the staff engineer position in the books, in the right grade, in the right position, so that then the city engineer can actually oversee this position and it's solidified. So it's not going to be taking any additional funding out of anything. This was already budgeted. This is already planned. It's just being renamed and regraded, essentially, if that makes sense.
Questions?
I guess I could have one. So with this, do you think this will inhibit the ability to find somebody to fill that position, or do you think we will still be in a good footing to find somebody?
Hoping we'll still be in a good footing. I think that we have a lot of opportunity to hire maybe some younger people out of college or something and mentor them into the positions. I think that's the goal with this. It really isn't a lot lower than, it's only one grade lower than the city engineer position. So I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, I'll be completely transparent. Hiring for municipal government right now is very difficult in general. I'm struggling very hard, but I am hopeful and we're working at it and we're doing what we can. Unfortunately, we can only increase wages so much without affecting our taxpayers. So,
Got it. Thanks.
Counselor Smith, question?
This one is a lot more straightforward.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Director Nettleman, did you want to speak to the staff engineer position?
No, I don't have a lot to add. I think we're just taking the opportunity here to get things set in the right set in the right grade. And as the city hall staff transitions to being part of a union, this will keep things a little more organized in the way that they're supposed to be. So I don't see the role taking on anything much different than Diane used to handle. And it's just want to get with the position being vacant, it just gives us a great opportunity to go through this process. I'm not sure why they didn't go through it when Diane was hired years ago. So.
Yeah, agreed. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think that this is an opportunity to make it clean,
Yes.
and not messy. And I think that just would help in the future with employee morale, and there's not confusion around that. So I agree. I think it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully this will be an opportunity that, as you said, and we've been talking about, there's challenges around people wanting to work in municipal government. So hopefully this will, draw people in and certainly support, like I said, with morale and whatnot. So, so I will take a motion to amend City Ordinance Chapter 7, Section 7-17A, classification of employees, to add the following: staff engineer at a grade F.
So moved.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So it was unanimous.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to you and Director Nettleman for coming in to talk this over with us and give us your thoughts. So appreciate that. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Oh, you're seconded. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.